Schrock Innovations presents the Midwest #1 independent computer repair company with service centers in Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, Des Moines, and across the country via the Schrock desk. This is Compute This.
Good morning, folks, and welcome into Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company with service centers in Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, Des Moines. You heard the big man. We're all over the place. And we get to see a lot because we're all over the place and we enjoy it. I have to tell you, it's an interesting time to be a business owner. And I debated leading the show with this stuff. Normally at the start of the program, we're like, rah, rah, ree, Sophos is on sale. Last week to come get it, let me think. Is it the last week? Yeah, you'll have a couple days next week. But for intents and purposes, throw a graduation or two in there. This is the last week to get Sophos on special, for $99 instead of the normal $160. And where are you seeing any kind of sales like that going on right now? Anywhere else? Anywhere else? Nothing's on sale anywhere, because everybody's fighting inflation. And I thought, I've got some information on this, and I've got some insight because we deal with it in real time, in the real world. You hear about the numbers on the news, and you hear about, the financial news, and, this is up or this is down, or the producer price index is up. Hey, guess what? The consumer is strong. Sales are amazing, but, we didn't adjust those sales for inflation at all. So, yes, they're up 11%, but so is inflation, so they're pretty much flat. The consumer is strong. And so you start to see these numbers and you start to experience them. And we have a real blessing being in the Midwest, in Nebraska and Iowa. We don't experience the boom times. You know what I mean? Like, there's no roaring 20s happening in Norfolk. The Joaquin might have a street parade, but that's that's what you're going to get, right? There's no boom times, but there's also usually not a really bad bust either. When unemployment is roaring nationwide, Nebraska and Iowa are typically some of the lowest states in the nation for unemployment. And when employment is really tight, Nebraska and Iowa are some of the lowest states for unemployment. I mean, it's pretty consistent. We have a pretty even keel here. But that doesn't mean that we're completely immune to the ebbs and the flows of what's going on around us. So, I don't know. I sat down and I was writing my show plan for today, and I thought, I have some insight here. I want to open the show today by sharing some of the things with you that we see at Schrock, because one of the things that helps me out is whenever I'm confronted with a problem, whenever I'm in a situation that seems overwhelming, and you get a lot of those when you're in business over the years, but I try to break it into smaller pieces, and I try to formulate a plan. Now, the prerequisite of the plan is success, right? So it's got to be a plan that's successful. So sometimes these plans are pretty wackadoo, because they've got to be successful. But then when you start breaking it into smaller pieces, you find some interesting ways to pull off some cool wackadoo stuff. Like, in the middle of an inflationary environment where our costs are up over 8% year over year on computer parts, we find a way to put an ultimate upgrade special out at a $200 discount that is one of the best computers we've built all year. It's weird how when you really put your mind to something, when you really plan ahead and you work hard at it and you're aware of what's coming, you can form a plan to deal with it. And I think right now, the thing that's been bugging me the last week is that no one seems to be, nobody that I'm hearing in the media seems to really understand what's going on or have the concept of what could be coming. And so I'm not going to do the whole doomsday show kind of thing here today. That's not the point of this. The point is to let you guys know what we're seeing at Schrock. So some of the things that we're seeing right now at Schrock, if you didn't know this, we are currently hiring technicians in Lincoln. We've been hiring, since the end of the pandemic. We're kind of always hiring, but we're really, really hiring. We need a really experienced senior technician for the Lincoln Service Center, like career money kind of guy. We need that now. We need somebody to walk in the door that has the skill set to do the job and the humility to learn how to do the job the way we want it done. And that's something that's sometimes hard to find. We also need technicians in the Omaha Service Center, and we need a technician in the Papillion Service Center. So we've got 3 service centers that need technicians right now. We went 6 months ago, we put up an ad. We don't get a single applicant, like not one, not nobody, not even an unqualified applicant, not even the construction guy with typos in his application that says that, well, I got an application the other day from a construction guy, and in the application it actually said, there's always time for hard work, but there's time to make it fun too. And now I understand what he was trying to say. But when you tell your boss, there's always time for hard work, that's like saying there's always time for fun, but there's also hard work that needs to be done. But you don't say there's always time for hard work, but there's also fun that needs to be done. It's like, why would you put that in your application? Are you reading this? So, we get something like that. We weren't even getting those 6 months ago. We have seen a dramatic uptick. I'm getting maybe 3 or 4 applicants a day now. Now, they're completely unqualified applicants for the most part, but we're getting 3 or 4 applicants a day in the lower skill set, lower qualification realm. I have a friend of mine who is a pastor, is a small church. And as it is with, small pastoral ministries, he's looking to pick up a second job. He's got some tech skills. He has put out applications. He's put out calls. He has not received a single callback, not one, from an employer. So what I'm trying to communicate here is the jobs situation is starting to turn. And you're seeing this in the news, but nobody is putting these dots together for you and telling you about this. How does this relate to computers? It doesn't, which is why I was like, this is like aftershock stuff, Thor. Why are you doing this during the regular program? I'm going to bring it back to what we do at Schrock and how by planning ahead and by trying to understand what is coming next, we provide stability in one aspect of your life, in one set of prices in your life. You have one island where you have a company that you can count on them, us, to put your interests first and do what we need to do to make sure we're taking care of the company so that we are there for you tomorrow as well. So one of the things, the other trends that we're seeing is remote work. I had a technician the other day tell me, I could go get a remote job anywhere doing tech work. And that is not the case anymore. Remote jobs are drying up faster than regular jobs because guess what? In a tightening labor market, people who show up to work are preferred over people who don't. Imagine that. And this is something you're going to see a lot of. This is a theme that you're going to see as you read news. And the news stories aren't going to point it out, but when times are good, when the lamb is fat, if you will, there's time for all kinds of side shenanigans and ESG and New World Order ideas and, oh, this is great, let's go to renewables. There's all the time in the world for that stuff, all the money in the world for that stuff. But when times get tight, that's when that stuff gets cast aside in favor of the stuff that puts meat and potatoes on the table. And that's why one of the things you're seeing right now that is not, it's being reported, but it's not being tied together. This month, 2.76 million jobs have been lost in America. This month. Where were they lost? Well, companies that employ 500 or more employees, so large corporations, eliminated 1.6 million positions. These are mostly publicly traded companies. We'll get into that in a second. Companies that had 50 to 500 workers, so medium-sized companies is what this is called, 722,000 jobs. Small businesses, which is up to 50 employees, 435,000 jobs. Some of the biggest companies to lay off large numbers of workers, Netflix, Carvana, Reef, Better.com, which I'd never heard of, but apparently they're in the mortgage industry. They laid off 4,000 employees. Peloton, 2,800 employees. The Wells Fargo mortgage lending division is laying off massive. They did not disclose how many, but they laid off a lot of employees. And Facebook has taken the unprecedented step of stopping the hiring. They have a hiring freeze on engineers. So they're not hiring any new people at all right now. So where am I going with this? What's the point of this? one of the things that I hear every day in the news, hey, look, the Dow is up today. Isn't this great? Yeah. Have we found a bottom? Have we finally found the bottom? And then the next day it's down whatever it was up plus 200 points. And they're like, oh, wow, so we haven't seen that capitulation selling yet. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of like, I don't know, asking someone who's never seen capitulation what capitulation looks like. Capitulation is I surrender. I'm cashing out my 401k because I'm just losing it all anyway. I don't care if I get penalized. I'm out. I'm done. I'm closing my my brokerage account, my online trading account, because my day trading career has been a failure. The capitulation is quitting. Capitulation is stopping. And we haven't seen it yet. So this is going to go on, I think, for a little while, guys. And in an environment like that, I take a look at Schrock Innovations and I say, what can we do to make sure that Schrock is a company that is going to get through this? That Schrock is a company that's going to retain its key talent. What do my people need? You know, my employees have gone from literally the cost to put gas in their tank, and they're not driving fancy cars. They're driving, 1990s BMWs and Subarus, and they're not driving, Teslas around. Go buy a Tesla. Just go buy an electric vehicle, and you don't have to worry about gas prices anymore. What a highfalutin thing to say to somebody who's trying to afford $4 gas. Why don't you just go buy a $60,000 car? You'll be just fine. You can't afford the gas. How are you going to afford the $60,000 car? So, keeping all this in mind, trying to figure out what's going to keep my employees okay, what's going to keep them able to come to work and do their job and focus on the customer because they're not focused and worried about everything in their lives that's going upside down and backwards. And then making sure that we're delivering that product and service that define who we are as a company, that help us stand out and stand apart from other companies who are not going to be able to do that. Here's my prediction. You're going to see a change in marketing messages from a lot of companies going forward. You're going to see a lot less emphasis on social issues of any kind. So forget the left, the right, all that stuff. You're seeing companies like Facebook on their internal message board says you are no longer allowed to talk about abortion at all because there's no way to talk about it without offending somebody. So you can't talk about it internally. Don't talk about it. You saw Disney get pounded by the state of Florida. Whether you think that's right or wrong, because there's definitely arguments to be made on both sides there. Everybody's going quiet right now because there's bigger things to worry about. So what are we doing at Schrock? One of the things, we're doing the same things a family would do, right? So one of the first things that I did is I sat down and said, you guys, let's look at the subscriptions we've got. Because over the years, we've accumulated a lot of subscriptions. And a lot of them are small, $10 a month, $15 a month, but they add up. Some of them were big, $400 or $500 a month. And we got to sit down and say, do we actually need this? What are we getting from this subscription? Does it justify the cost of what we're getting from it? And we made decisions to cut about, $1,000 a month in subscriptions from the Schrock budget last week. And I kind of kick myself. I feel like a bad steward because, if we had $1,000 to cut, how long was the $1,000 there that I could have cut, we went through the cell phone bill and we found we had some vehicle tracking devices for the Schrock cars that we haven't used in a long time that were still on the bill. And we thought, and they weren't super expensive. It was $42 a month in a cell phone company, a bill for a company's cell phone where you have multiple phones. $42 is an easy, small amount to lose, but it's still $42 a month. So we recovered that. We went through, we tightened a lot of the procedures and things that we do internally. We tried to automate everything that we could automate internally so that we could still provide front-facing customer service. But behind the scenes, the things that my people need to do were automated so that their jobs were easier, so they had more time to spend with you. Because that's what makes us different. We don't want to give that up. We're not going to send you to a push-button menu system. We're not going to hire a Ruby receptionist, third-party person to answer our phones and route calls for us. That's what makes us different. So some things that I try to do, I try to shop local when I can. Now this is something, local restaurants, not massive chains. I try to go to local restaurants. Sometimes they're hit and miss. Went to one yesterday, and I won't say who it was, but it was an Italian place, or yesterday on Friday, and ordered a pizza there, and literally it was like bread with some red sauce smush smeared on it. Not a lot, just a little bit. There was no discernible cheese. There was some garlic flavoring, and I paid like $14 for this pizza. And this is considered to be a pretty nice Italian place to go. And I thought, this is awful. Like this, I feel ripped off here. And you're going to get more of that as you go out. So sometimes it's hit or miss. But by shopping local, by patronizing local companies, you're giving those local businesses like Schrock that are doing everything that we can do to make sure we're here and not raising prices on you, the opportunity to succeed. One of the biggest costs that we have at Schrock, aside from labor and marketing, is payment processing fees. I mean, literally, and they're going up. They go up every single year. And then we renegotiate. We try to get them down a little bit, but the net increase is always there. Roughly 2% of every dollar that you spend with a credit card or a debit card goes toward fees for the company you spend it with. Those fees get passed back to you. You pay the fee. Company doesn't pay the fee, just like companies don't pay taxes. They pass that to you too. So if you reduce the company's fees, it allows the company to have lower prices. So use checks and cash wherever you can. If they still allow a check, write a check. Number one, you get to keep your money for an extra day. Just saying. Number two, you're not running the risk of having that credit card balance, having some emergency come up and having that sit on your credit card at an extended interest rate. So that's good there. Go through your subscriptions kind of like we did. One of the things we're going to be doing next week is we're going to be shopping our insurance policies. We spend a ridiculous amount of money at Schrock on insurance. We have property insurance and workers' comp insurance and liability insurance and auto insurance and all the vehicles and all the people and key person insurance and all these policies. How come I've never shopped them around? So we're going to do that. We're going to see if we can find insurance companies that are hungrier for our business than where we're at now. And we're going to see that. I thought, if I was going to give people a suggestion, unlike the helpful suggestions of the newspapers, like kill your pet, save money. Right now it's awful. The shelters are literally overwhelmed with pets because everybody who got a COVID pet is now getting rid of the COVID pet because they can't afford the COVID pet, and shelters are just overwhelmed. So I mean, people are just reduce your lifestyle and you'll be fine. You know what? Again, ridiculous plan. I don't want to reduce my lifestyle. I don't want to have blackouts and brownouts in the summertime because people are running air conditioners in America. I don't want us to be Venezuela. I want to have the lifestyle that we have and then maybe provide a better one for my kids when they grow up. But it's going to take a little bit of work to get there, guys, and a crazy plan or two. But the good news is we have everything we need at our feet. I'm going to wrap this segment up on a positive note. Did you hear? When we've talked about this mine before on Compute This, the rare earth element mine outside of Beatrice, a geological study just came back. It is the second largest deposit of rare earths on planet Earth, and it's in Beatrice, Nebraska. For those of you listening in Iowa, that's 40 minutes from our Lincoln Service Center. Is all the rare earths that we need to build all the EVs you want to build all the computers and circuit boards and microchips and everything you want. And they just found out it's got a huge deposit of magnetic rare earths as well. It's all right at our feet. We just gotta come up with a crazy plan to go get it. 888-250-2091. Now, if you missed last week's show, guys, we told you about Elon's Twitter deal, discussed some fundamental service principles at Schrock, things like that. Told you about a college that was killed by ransomware attack. That's all available on the website at SchrockInnovations.com. Coming up on the program, we're going to tell you next about the 5 most secure browsers so you can pick the most secure browser you want to use for your computer. We're also going to tell you about Google declaring bankruptcy. Yeah, that's happening this week. Big story there. NASA also getting some really weird data back from the Voyager 1 probe. Yeah, that one that's outside of the heliopause, so basically outside of our sun's influence. It's sending wonky data back now all of a sudden. What does that mean? We're going to talk about it coming up on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations Data Recovery Lab saves the data the other guys can't. The next time your hard drive, camera card, or flash drive fails, let Schrock get your data back. External hard drives are handy. You can back up multiple computers to them or even use them to move lots of data from one computer to another. computer users have been buying the same old external hard drives for years. While our computers have been getting faster, we still do backups that take hours or watch epic progress bars creep by to move files. Schrock wanted more for our customers, so our innovators created the fastest external hard drives on the planet. Schrock modular storage devices are up to 50% faster than Seagate or Western Digital externals and are modular in the truest sense of the word. We can create whatever size and speed of drive you need for all of your needs, and all modular storage devices come with a data restoration guarantee. If you use our drives for backing up and your computer's hard drive fails, we'll restore your backup to your repaired computer for free. Fast, simple, and flexible technology solutions from Schrock Innovations. It's what we do. Compute This pro tip number 753. Have you ever wondered how the bad guys always seem to find a way into your computer? Gone are the good old days of email worms and I love you viruses. Nobody wants to steal your data anymore, or in many cases even your identity. Today's cyber criminals want to sell access to your computer or hold your data for ransom. The bad guys are exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities to break into systems that are supposed to be hack-proof. These vulnerabilities are always newly discovered, and the criminals have a brief time to exploit them before they get patched. Antivirus and firewalls do not prevent these attacks, but you can minimize your computer's exposure by installing all security patches as quickly as possible. The average computer needs 12 patches a week. That's not including the ones that are automatically delivered to your computer. Boost your cybersecurity by staying on top of it manually, or use a patch installation program like Secure Updater to get your computer the patches it needs. This pro tip is brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us here. You're listening to Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. During the summer months, when the weather gets nice and things go into the ground and graduations start happening, all that stuff, that is the time at Schrock that our benches typically slow down a little bit. People have, more important things to do than screw with their computers all day long. You got to be kidding me. Well, that's the truth. That's the truth for a lot of people. So this is an outstanding time. If you have one of those prepaid maintenance certificates and you've been putting off coming in, you've been procrastinating that because of turnaround times or whatever, now is an outstanding time to bring that in. It's also an outstanding time for Schrock to be hiring because, we're a little slower and we're short-handed a little bit. So, hey, it works out. Everybody gets their hours. Nobody gets their hours cut. Life is good, right? But no, it's a great time to come on into the service centers. If you, have a computer that's acting up, if you have a maintenance certificate you want to use. One of the things I want to encourage, I've seen, I don't know if it's something in the digital water here lately, but Drive Advisor has been popping off about 3 times a day for Schrock customers saying you guys are getting bad hard drives. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. Old computers, new computers, literally just lots of bad hard drives happening. Part of it could be that there's a lot more surging happening because, days like, today, you're running your heater in the morning and you may be running your air conditioner in the afternoon, just depending on, where you're at. That creates a lot of power surges, and that creates a lot of stress on electronic equipment. So please, if you haven't done so, take a moment to take a look at your surge protector. Make sure that your surge protector is, not as old as you, okay? If it's made of metal, like that one on the wall right up there, it's time to replace it. If its light switch has a flickering light like that one on the wall right there, then it's time to replace it. Sorry, the engineers here love me. But no, seriously though, the ones that we offer at Schrock, they're audible alert so that you can use them until they're burnt up. And when they're burnt up, they chirp. And then they're bad. Otherwise, you need to replace them once a year because you just don't know. And you don't know how many joules of protection you originally got with it. We carry those in Schrock at all of the service centers. We've got a supply of 19 in back inventory in the Papillion Service Center, and we don't know how we're going to get more. So that's a tomorrow problem, right? That's part of the plan. Figure out that tomorrow, we'll worry about tomorrow. All right, 888-250-2091. Now, one of the things that I saw an article that kind of piqued my interest because everyone is looking for security. Everybody, that's this whole month has been a security focused month for Schrock. We have Sophos antivirus on special. We normally don't do that. because Sophos is expensive to offer and support. I mean, it costs us quite a bit of money to make sure that your computer stays safe. However, with that said, we haven't had a single Sophos customer get infected running Sophos. Some people thought they were infected, but it was just like a pop-up that came up on the screen saying, you're infected. And, we told them to hit Alt F4 and it closed the pop-up and they were fine. But not a single customer has been infected running Sophos since we started using it at Schrock. It's just that good. So we put it on sale. It's normally $160 the first year and $70 each additional year to renew it. That is per device. It is on special right now, so you can get that for $99 instead of $160. Renewal price is the same. Also, people don't realize this, but your tablets, your phones, they need protection too. And so we also have it available for phones, tablets, Linux computers, as well as Macs. And the price for mobile devices is discounted even further. It's only $65 a device per year. So it's a lot cheaper to get it installed on the device, the mobile device, than it is to put it on the computer, even at the sale price. So if you have devices that are not covered, I've heard this argument in the service centers before. I don't want to cover my device because I don't use it for that much, or it's just the kid's computer. The problem here is it's like saying nobody uses the side door of the house, so we don't need to lock it because all the other doors are locked. And the bad guy comes in the side door and steals your big screen TV. Literally, that's what's going to happen. And everyone's like, how did this happen? Well, he came in through there. So you've got to see, even if you have junk computers for the kids on the network, those all have to be secured. I had a guy tell me, well, they're not hooked together like that. Are they on a Wi-Fi? Yeah, they are. Then they're hooked together like that. And then they can share printers, they can share drives, they can share data. They're very much hooked together like that. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, now you guys do. So there you go. So take a look at that. So one of the things in this security-focused month we have, I saw this article pop up, the 5 best browsers for privacy. Sometimes security and privacy are things that are mixed up. Security keeps you safe. Privacy keeps your stuff away from prying eyes. So you can have security without privacy, and you can have privacy without security. So they're kind of separate things, right? But we kind of want them both, don't we? So the 5 best browsers for privacy. Number 1 is a browser that I have to admit, you guys turned me on to this one a little bit by you told me about it before I actually looked into it and learned about it. But the Brave browser is the most private browser that you can use on your computer. The Brave browser does have some compatibility issues with some websites. We had a call in the Papillion Service Center this week for a customer that was having trouble initiating something. I can't remember what it was on a website. And then they used Edge or Chrome or Firefox or some other browser, and it worked fine. And they were using the Brave browser, and that's why they were having trouble. But the Brave browser is the best for privacy overall. It's even got some blockchain component integration to it, that it's some really cutting edge tech that makes it a truly different browser. So if you're looking for a new browser, or you wanted to try out the most private browser out there, Brave would be your choice. Number 2 comes in Mozilla Firefox. This is the one that I use. This one is the most secure browser for privacy. Brave was best overall. Firefox was most secure for privacy. Underneath that was the DuckDuckGo browser. A lot of people think Duck is just a search engine. They actually also have a browser. This is the go-to browser I use on my mobile phone for anything that's not an account that I am logging into purposefully. So if I'm logging into my bank account, I use Firefox. If I'm going to go read Zero Hedge, I use Duck. If I'm going to go and search for something, I use Duck. I use the Duck browser because you can just burn the data. You hit the little flame button on it, and it's like you were never there. Everything you ever typed or did was gone. Underneath that, we have Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge is essentially the same browser as Chrome under the hood. But notice Chrome is not on this list because there is nothing private at all when you use Google Chrome. And then there's another one down here called the NoScript extension. I've never even heard of this. The best easy installation browser for privacy. So it gets marks for easy install, but I've never heard of it. So your choices are Brave, Firefox, the DuckDuckGo browser, or Microsoft Edge, ironically enough, for your most private browsers available on the internet today. Number to join us on the program today, 888-250-2091. We're going to take a quick break here, guys. When we come back, Google is declaring bankruptcy in Russia. So, yes, it's a big story, and we want to talk about how this is going to impact their operations coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations repair technicians also make house calls. Make an appointment and let us bring our award-winning computer support right to your home or business. Schrock Innovations has spent nearly 2 decades working to make your technology life easier, and the all-new SchrockInnovations.com is no exception. Now you can order new modular computers and solid-state laptops directly from our website, secure your computer with our virus-free guaranteed Symantec endpoint software, find innovative new technologies like our modular storage devices, and get free help and tips. Take a look at the specials section to find sales on one-of-a-kind items, display models, refurbished units, and our latest special offers. Swing by the Compute This page to watch TV segments and archived radio shows, or even get one-on-one help through the Schrock Desk. As always, we respect your privacy, so we secure our website with the latest encryption technology and only the most secure payment methods. You can pick up your purchases at any of our 3 service centers or have them shipped directly to your door. The new SchrockInnovations.com makes technology simple. It's what we do. And now, Compute This pro tip number 373. Everyone knows we're supposed to back up our computers and then check those backups periodically to make sure they're working. So why don't most people do it? Lots of people have different ideas about what backing up means. Is it copying files to a flash drive? Is it using a fancy backup program? And how do you know it's working anyway? Windows makes backups easy through free software that's already on your computer. Open your control panels and click Update and Security. Select Backup and choose from all of the available options to get a regular, reliable checkup. You'll need something to back up to, like a Schrock modular storage device or some other backup hard drive. Backups usually run once a week, but you can always change the frequency. The best part is that if your backup ever fails, you'll see a notification in the lower right corner by your clock telling you something's up. Backing up your important data has never been easier, so take a moment to back up your computer today. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
I'm Karen McHugh. The military mission to alleviate the nationwide baby formula shortage takes off.
It's the first time in history the U.S. military launching emergency sorties to deliver some 78,000 pounds of formula, over 500,000 bottles, some calling this disaster relief here at home. Just 4 companies are responsible for about 90% of the formula baby supply here in the United States.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Last week's Pennsylvania GOP primary for the Senate may be headed for a recount.
Right now, less than 1,100 votes statewide separate Trump-endorsed Dr. Oz and businessman David McCormick. That's less than a 0.1% margin. So unless absentee votes counted this week or disputed mail-in ballots bring that spread up to 0.5% lead for either candidate, then a mandatory recount will almost certainly be triggered.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, the News Radio 1110 KFAB Weather Watch.
A chilly start to the day with temperatures in the upper 30s, but plenty of sunshine. We'll see a quick warm-up. Temperatures into the 60s by noon with a high around 70. Increasing clouds overnight, lows around 48. Cloudy skies Monday, a high of 62 with a few afternoon rain showers. With Omaha's most accurate forecast, I'm 6 News First Alert meteorologist David Keller.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us here today on the program. We appreciate you hanging with us through the break. I was just talking through the break here about how this morning I was standing in my closet and I was like, I grabbed a pair of shorts and I thought, oh, it's 39 degrees outside right now. It's kind of cold for shorts. But it's going to be almost 70 later, and because the weatherman's always wrong, it'll probably be 80. So shorts will feel good later. And then I realized I'm standing in my closet debating whether I'm going to change my pants later in the day. Of all the stupid things to stand in the closet and be befuddled about, I just put my jeans on and came and did the show. So yes, for those of you who are curious, I am wearing pants today. The world wants to know. 888-250-2091 is the number to join us on the program. Ask a question, make a comment. As always, we'll put you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Quick program note. We're going to be doing an aftershock today. The next 2 weeks, there will not be an aftershock, so this will be the last one for a couple weeks. So I'm saving some powder. I've got a little bit of a cold, if you didn't notice, so it's hurting my ability to project my voice too far. So I don't know what that's going to mean later for the aftershock. Does that mean my voice will be calm and strong and ready to go, or not? I don't know. But we'll find out, and you can stick with us. We air that at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. If you don't do the Book of Faces, we also post the video after the fact to our website at SchrockInnovations.com, where you can take a look there at the at all the not really computer-related stuff that we talk about during the Aftershock. We try to keep it somewhat computer-related, technology-related anyway, but not always. All right, so Google in Russia is declaring bankruptcy. This news broke earlier this week. Google's Russia division is declaring bankruptcy. No idea if this is going to have any impact on the Alphabet stock price. I don't know how big of an operation Russia was for them. But they are declaring bankruptcy because Russia has seized all of their assets. Russia has literally seized the assets of Google, all the servers, all the data centers, everything. They just seized it all. And so Google said, well, we're going to declare bankruptcy, but they will still continue to provide services in Russia. So they're going to still provide Gmail and Google Sheets and all the other stuff in Gmail or in Russia, but they're not going to be able to actually have equipment in Russia to provide the services. So my guess is they're going to be providing them from outside the country, which would require Russia to maintain an internet connection outside the country. But they confirmed on Wednesday, Google Russia is filing for bankruptcy following the government's seizure of its assets. The Russian office will close, and Google is also moving its Russia-based employees elsewhere. Really? You can get out of Russia? I didn't think anybody was flying. Where are they going to move them to? I'm not trying to be like, I don't know what's the right word here, culturally insensitive here, but I mean these people working for Google didn't invade Ukraine. It's not them individually, obviously, but then you find out that you're in Poland and there's a office of Russians that's opening up next door that's going to run Gmail, and you're like, is that wise? I don't know. Google had previously announced there would be a pause on the vast majority of its commercial operations in Russia, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It also stopped selling ads and cloud computing services in Russia, while YouTube has been blocking access to channels globally associated with Russian state-funded media like Russia Today due to their coverage of the invasion. Blocking Russia Today, by the way, is a crime in Russia, so you don't get a broadcast license if you block Russia Today. And so as a result, I think that Google hasn't been providing channels because they haven't been allowed to by law. Russia's military actions have put the country at odds with a number of social media platforms and other tech companies. Both sides of the conflict seek to influence the trajectory with control of the internet. So I don't know. I'm reading this story and I'm saying, okay, they're going to declare bankruptcy. This is obviously they have costs associated with real estate, with equipment, with things like that is probably financed, because why wouldn't you finance it at whatever the 0% interest rates were, at the time? So with all that, you're going to have to bankrupt to get away from that if the state is seizing all that equipment and resources and land and everything else. So you're going to bankrupt to get away with that. That's where the bankruptcy comes from. That's not a big deal. The thing that just that last paragraph, as both sides of the conflict seek to influence the trajectory with control of the internet. Both sides, meaning Ukraine and Russia, are trying to use the internet to seek influence or to influence the trajectory. But I think it's more than that. I think it's the tech companies themselves that are trying to influence the trajectory of the war by deciding what services they're going to provide and not provide. It's one of those catch-22s where if you back out completely out of Russia, you're reducing the amount of information that Russian citizens receive. And that allows the Russian government to greater control its population. So are you not hurting Russia by staying, if that makes sense? So it's really weird. It just goes to show you some of the power of some of these companies, that they can try to influence geopolitical events by their mere presence. All right, number to join us on the program, 888-250-2091. That's what Ron has done. Ron, welcome to the show. How can I help you on Compute This today?
Good morning, Thor. I am one of those that received the Drive Advisor warning.
Yes, sir.
And it's interesting. We were just in for a update on the computer, your semi-annual checkup.
Yeah.
And it immediately went to 85%. Well, this is a 15-month-old Seagate solid-state drive, and so I was just curious what are you recommending as far as replacements?
Gotcha. So with solid-state drives, a lot of people, with hard drives forever, the question has always been, what brand of drives do you recommend, Thor? Which brand is the best? Well, it depends what you're looking at. In mechanical hard drives, Toshiba hard drives are the cheapest, but they also have the cheapest bearing set, so they tend to wear out more quickly. Western Digital drives are the most reliable, but when they need data recovery, they're expensive. Seagate drives are a blend of all three, and they're very easy to recover data from if they fail. So I usually recommend Seagate drives because the whole point is keeping data, and if they're the easiest to get data off of when they fail, there you go. So now we're in the realm of solid-state hard drives, and the problem is whatever label they put on the outside of the drive doesn't represent what's on the inside of the drive. So you've got Western Digital selling Western Digital solid states under white label names. You've got the same thing going on with Seagate. You have the same thing going on with Samsung. You have the same thing going on with SanDisk. And then you have all of the third-party providers who literally provide what are called SDKs, software development kits, that say, here's a software kit. All you have to do is put the chips together on a board, and you can use our firmware to make your own solid-state hard drives. Now you can have your own company brand. We were approached by a company saying, hey, Schrock's big enough. You should be selling your own hard drives. And I thought, oh, great. Just what we want. We own a data recovery lab and we sell our own hard drives. It's kind of like, being the company that sells the advertising as well as the company that sells the browser. And, it's nefarious, right? I mean, why would you? No, we're not going to recover data from our own drives that we're going to sell ourselves. Besides the drives that you're offering us, the technology and these SDKs, a lot of the cheaper solid states that you see when you go shopping, they're junk. And they're very difficult to recover, and they have high failure rates. So what you want to look for, if you're looking for a new hard drive for your computer, a lot of people get tied up on whether or not it's Generation 3 or Generation 4 solid states. The Gen 4 solid states are significantly faster than the Gen 3 solid states. With that said, most older motherboards, now older than 15 months for sure, don't support Gen 4. Something you bought from Schrock 15 months ago will support a Gen 4 drive. So the Gen 4 drives are more expensive. So you're going to spend a lot more, substantially more, $50, $70, $100 more for the drive than you would over a comparable Gen 3 drive to get, a 2-second faster boot up time. And as far as lifespan of the drive, the dirty little secret is the memory that goes into every solid state hard drive is made by 3 different companies. They all use the same memory. So it's a matter of how many times the memory is accessed over time that determines the life of the solid state. So you'll see smaller solid state drives have a higher failure rate than larger ones, not because they're less stable, but because people fill them up. And so when you have a 120 gig solid state and you fill it up to 90% full, the computer only has 10% of that drive available for its day-to-day operations at that point, and it's going to wear out that 10% real fast. Whereas if you have a 2 terabyte hard drive and you're using 50% of it, you're saving considerably more data on the drive. You have a whole terabyte of data on the drive, but it's got another whole terabyte to play with as a swap file to move things back and forth and load balance that wear across all the different memory cells over time. So as far as which is better, Samsung makes some of the best quality drives. You're going to pay for that quality. If you can't get a Samsung, if you're looking for, we like ADATA. They make some really solid drives. That's what we use in a lot of our modular computers. SanDisk is obviously there as a choice as well. Western Digital drives the solid states don't really offer anything special, and they cost more. So I usually avoid those. Seagate, same thing. Their solid state business just is not there yet. So if you're going solid state, I would go with ADATA or Samsung. If you were going mechanical, I'd go with Seagate.
Okay. The interesting as I was looking at some of these, the form factor is different. It looked like there were some out there that are, I think they specifically said for gaming computers that they look like they're about 4 inches long and about a half an inch wide versus your standard SSD drive.
Right.
I don't know if you've run into that or what, but it just looked very weird to me. I didn't know if those would fit or not.
Right. Well, all the drives that we put in our modular computers are the 4-inch drives. They're the longer drives, and we do that for heat dissipation. because solid-state drives get hot. And the smaller the drive is, the fewer chips it has, the hotter they get. And so we want to make sure that the heat can dissipate off that drive really well. So we're going to use the larger drives, the largest form factor drives in all of our builds. Now, you're right. There's different types and different form factors. If you have if yours is 15 months old, it's got the M.2 slot on the motherboard, that's going to be the fastest hard drive that you can get. So stay away from anything that's serial ATA or plugs in with a couple of wires. You want to stay away from that because you have a faster onboard socket that you can use. Then once you get into that, there's two different types of drives that socket will support. There's the regular M.2, and then there's the NVMe drives. The NVMe drives are usually preferred by gamers because they are fractionally faster. They're also more expensive, but they're fractionally faster. So if you want to get the fastest possible drive for your computer, especially if it's a modular computer, you want to go with an NVMe drive that is generation 4. And that's going to provide you the maximum speed. And as far as reliability goes, reliability is a function in large part of capacity. So the larger the drive you can afford to buy, I would recommend getting the larger drive.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir.
No sweat, Ron. Have a great afternoon. 888-250-2091. Going to take our final break of the program here. When we come back, what's a good show of Compute This without a space story, right? Got to have a space story in there. So NASA launches this probe, the Voyager. Well, they launched Voyager 2 before Voyager 1. I didn't know that. I learned that in reading about this. I was like, launched 16 days before. Like the Voyager, did they have competing teams? And Voyager 2 was like, na boo boo. And they got theirs on the rocket first. I don't know what happened. But anyway, Voyager 1 exited our solar system. It is crossed the heliopause. It is the furthest man-made object from Earth. And it seems to be working just fine. But NASA's getting concerned because the data coming back from the probe doesn't make sense. In fact, it almost appears as if the data is made up, like it's fake news. What is the Voyager 1 probe? Is it a fake news probe? I don't know. But it's sending back garbage data to NASA. And we're going to talk about it coming up next on Compute This.
Update all of your third-party apps on your computer with Secure Updater. It keeps all your apps running smoothly and helps block viruses. Download it for free today at secureupdater.com. Some people like desktops for their power and upgradability, but nothing rivals a laptop for computing on the go. But why should you have to sacrifice performance for portability? The innovators at Schrock want our customers to have it all, so we created a new kind of laptop, the solid-state laptop from Schrock Innovations. Solid-state laptops are built using the same frame and mainboards as regular laptops, but we've removed half of the moving parts while more than doubling the computer's speed. The result? Laptops that boot to Windows in 6 seconds or less, respond instantly to your commands, and can survive drops that put most laptops into the data recovery lab. Starting at only $499, solid-state laptops give you speed, reliability, durability, and performance for the same price most people pay for a cheap disposable laptop. The next time you're looking for a laptop, check out the solid-state laptops at SchrockInnovations.com or visit any of our service centers. Simple, solid, fast technology is what we do at Schrock. Compute This Pro Tip 299. There are enough mothballed computers in U.S. homes to give one to every man, woman, and child in the country. Many of these computers find their way into landfills where they can leak cadmium, lithium, and other nasty chemicals into the groundwater. Schrock Innovations is very proud of the fact that we recycle more e-waste every year than we create. You can drop off any old or broken computer equipment to our service centers at any time, free of cost. We only charge $15 just for monitors because they are especially difficult to process. No appointment is required, and we accept all computer-related equipment like printers, keyboards, speakers, and accessories. Additionally, the rare earth elements in computers can be recycled right here in the U.S. to reduce our reliance on supplies from foreign countries. Take a moment, drop off your old computer equipment today, and Schrock will make sure it's properly recycled and put to good use right here in the U.S. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, folks, final segment of the program. Thanks for sticking with us there. We appreciate you joining us on the show today. I hope I've made it entertaining and fun and informative. That's the point of what we're trying to do here. because, what was it? I read something the other day that said comedy is important in education because while their mouths are open laughing, you can pour knowledge in. And I was like, for pouring, wouldn't it be their ears open? I didn't really understand the saying, but I understood what they were trying to go, where they were trying to communicate there. Humor is kind of a lubricant for knowledge, right? It helps get it into the system a little bit. So for those of you who are just joining us on the program, we started off the show today talking a little bit about some of the things that Schrock was doing to try to mitigate some of the inflationary pressures, that are hitting every small business. And we went through some of the layoff numbers for businesses, and small businesses are actually firing employees. It's happening, and we're seeing an increased number of applicants per position. They're still not super qualified applicants, but we're also seeing super qualified applicants looking for remote positions who are not able to find them, and qualified IT applicants, which I suspect might extend to any degreed applicant for any position outside of IT, not getting calls back. There's a lot of hiring freezes going on, a lot of things going on like that, and part of that is because of the chomp that's going on in our economy right now, where you have a day where things look better and the news media says, hey, everything is bright and sunny, and then the next day it's, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Chomp. And I was talking during the break, and it's like anytime I hear someone on the news say it's okay because the consumer is strong and the economy, the American economy, is a lot stronger than a lot of people think, and it just reminds me of George W. Bush saying the fundamentals of our economy are strong right before the 2008 Great Recession. It's like they weren't strong. Some people thought they were strong, and it's weird if you watch. If I read CNBC stuff, like stories from CNBC or transcripts from their shows, I get a completely different idea of what's going on in the economy from whether I watch like Fox Business. I'm like, really? Are we to that point now where financial news? I thought that was something that at least the numbers could unite us. Are we at that point now where even that doesn't jive anymore? Where like, what you can look at this, two people can look at the same set of numbers and come away with two completely opposite views of what's happening in the economy? I don't know. So I'm not an economist. I'm not I'm not Warren Buffett. I don't claim to be. But we're doing what we can do at Schrock to make sure that we keep our prices where they're at, so that we can continue to provide the levels of service that you expect from us. My mother-in-law sat in drive-through at Sonic for 30 minutes yesterday. She got to the window. They're like, well, sorry, we're really busy and we're shorthanded. And then they forgot one of the drinks. She's like, I'm not going back. It's like people can be understanding when you're shorthanded or you're going through something. It's different when it directly impacts the core reason why the person has come to your business. My wife had an interaction with a service provider a couple weeks ago, and literally they treated her terribly. And she said, I'm not sure if you understand this, but I'm choosing to spend my money here. I can choose to spend my money somewhere else. And they just shrugged, and so she left. And wow. Yeah, so when it impacts the core reason why customers are coming in your front door, that's when you have a real problem. And so at Schrock, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure we keep the quality people that we have. We're trying to add new quality people to our team. If we can't find them, we're working to develop them, to build them, basically, to educate them, to provide the training that they need to get to be that quality person. We're watching our costs. We're keeping them. We're tightening the belt a little bit, making sure that all of our subscriptions and all of our stuff is tightened down, just like you're doing in your family, to make sure that we're prepared for what could be coming. Hopefully everything is just fine and we've found a bottom and everything gets sunny and rosy from here. That could happen, right? Right. All right. So something else that could happen. There's a probe flying away from us very rapidly. Voyager 1. NASA is investigating why it's sending mystery data back. 45 years after launching, this probe literally is as old as I am. I'm sending garbage data back some days too. The Voyager 1 probe is still transmitting data to scientists on Earth, but there's a mystery issue corrupting the data. NASA scientists, it couldn't be that it's like, coming from outside the solar system or anything, could it? On, 1970s tech, right? I mean, it couldn't be that. NASA scientists are trying to make sense of buggy system data in the interstellar Voyager spacecraft transmitting from 20 light hours away from Earth. Voyager 1 launched in 1977, so it's not 45 years old. Or no, it is 45. That is 45. Okay. So I'm slightly older than Voyager. And is now the furthest spacecraft from Earth, traveling in space about 14.5 billion miles, blah, blah, blah. They're investigating a glitch in the system data the Interstellar Explorer is collecting. Readouts from the probe's attitude articulation control system, basically figures out which direction it's pointing, don't reflect what's actually happening on the spacecraft. So the spacecraft appears to be functioning properly, but it's telling NASA that it's doing things that are different than what it's actually doing. In fact, in some cases, it's telling NASA it's doing things that are physically impossible to be done. Or are they? Everything about the AACS suggests it's functioning normally, yet telemetry data it's sending back to Earth is invalid, producing what appears to be randomly generated data that doesn't match any possible state the system could be in. It controls the probe's operation and its high-gain antenna that's trained on Earth. So if this system goes belly up, we lose connection to the probe. So this is, NASA says this is on par for, this Voyager probe is long in the tooth. It's way beyond what the mission planners expected it to do. So we expect these kind of glitches to happen. The other thing that we just don't know a lot about the interstellar medium where it's at. We've never had an item out this far before. So literally, you've got a probe out there in a super high radiation environment. Lord knows what's going on with it. And that's what we're trying to figure out here. So who knows why we're getting garbage data back from the Voyager probe, but it appears to be working fine, just not transmitting its data back correctly. Well, today's winner is a hard one. I don't even have to draw because we had one caller, and it was Ron. So guess what, Ron? You're the winner. Congratulations. You got yourself a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Want to encourage you all to stay on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. We'll be going live with our After Schrock here shortly, where we can talk about everything that's gone into the show. I can go into some more detail. I've got some deeper numbers to support everything I talked about earlier. I just didn't want to bore everybody with them during the main show. Also, we mentioned Drive Advisor a couple times during the program. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a free program you can download from driveadvisor.com. We make it at Schrock. It tells you if your hard drive's going bad. It's really handy to have. We'll see you all again next weekend for another edition of Compute This.
From the Amish Furniture of Nebraska studio, your home for made in the USA